Alex Carter had always believed that some memories were tucked away for a reason. But when he saw the ad, "Spend one night in the last house on Winter Creek Road," he couldn't resist. It was exactly the kind of eerie, decaying place that would take his photography beyond the ordinary. He needed something more than cityscapes and portraits. He needed raw, unfiltered atmosphere. So he packed his camera gear, his spare batteries, and drove out to Montana, chasing a promise of something unforgettable. The road itself was a narrow ribbon of asphalt, flanked by towering pines that seemed to lean in, as if whispering warnings. Snow crunched under his tires even though the sun was dipping low, casting long, skeletal shadows across the forest floor. He could feel the temperature drop as he drove, the wind whispering through open windows, carrying with it a stale scent of rotting wood. An ice dot at the end of that road stood the house. It was more ominous than he remembered, more broken down, more hollowed out. The windows were jagged shards of glass, some completely missing. The porch sagged in the middle, as if burdened by invisible weight. The door hung open at a crooked angle, inviting him in, daring him to step over the threshold. Alex hesitated for a moment. His breath came out in puffs, little clouds in the cold air. He raised his camera, taking the first photo from the porch. A wide shot that captured the house's decaying grandeur, its peeling paint, and the way it seemed to lean toward him like a starving animal. No animal sound stirred in the trees. No birds called out. Only silence. A silence so thick it felt like a physical presence. He stepped inside. Each footstep echoed against the wooden floorboards, which groaned under his weight. The air was colder here, denser, and carried a dampness that settled in his lungs. He wiped his breath off the camera lens instinctively before raising it to take another picture. The narrow hallway stretched into darkness, the feeble light from his flashlight barely pushing back the black. Alex leaned forward to get a better angle, his boots whispering on the floorboards. That's when he heard it, a faint, secondary footstep. It wasn't his own. His heart sped up, and he froze, listening. There it was again, a soft scraping noise, as if someone were trailing him just out of his line of sight, mimicking his every move. He shone the flashlight down the hallway. The beam trembled. He took a deep breath. "Hello," he called. His voice sounded small and brittle, as though it might shatter under the weight of the house. There was no reply, just another scrape. He raised his camera, fingers trembling, and snapped a photo. When the flash fired, the darkness seemed to ripple. In the frame, standing near the corner of the hallway, was a figure, a woman, tall and thin. Unnaturally elongated, her features erased by shadow. Her posture was rigid, yet she seemed to lean out toward him. Alex's spine stiffened, and his skin prickled as if she'd registered his presence fully when the shutter clicked. He lowered the camera, his breath shallow, watching. But in the physical room, there was nothing. The hallway was empty, stained walls on either side, and a door slightly ajar at the far end. He swallowed and steadied himself. Maybe it was a trick of the light, a glitch in the exposure. But his blood told him otherwise. He moved forward, camera in hand, flashlight grasped in his other. The ceiling creaked. The walls moaned. He made his way to the partially open door at the end of the hallway. Beyond it was a small sitting room with a cracked window and a thin layer of dust, covering every surface. A tattered armchair leaned in the corner. The room felt watched. He felt exposed, like he'd intruded into something sacred or cursed. Alex raised the camera for another shot, flicking the switch to burst mode, hoping to catch something. The shutter sounded like a soft drum beat. When the frame flashed across his viewfinder, he froze. The woman was closer now, so close that her hand looked like it might rest on the armchair. Her head tilted, as though she was tilting it slightly, centering him in her gaze. But when he looked into the room, she wasn't there. Nerves tingling, Alex took a step back, almost tripping over a broken floorboard. He cursed under his breath, breathing hard, and turned to leave the room, but something made him pause. The door behind him, which had been slightly open, now slammed shut in a sudden pop of wood. He jerked, raised his flashlight, sweeping the beam frantically. He tried the doorknob, it didn't budge. His heart thundered in his ears. He whispered, "Okay, okay," trying to calm himself. He stepped toward a nearby window, hoping to pry it open, but the frame was swollen and rigid. It wouldn't give. He raised the camera against something to anchor him, to give him proof. He hit the shutter, once, twice. The flash strobbing. In the last shot, something unusual appeared, a faint silhouette, like a shadow embedded in the wall, just over the armchair. It bulged and retreated, as though breathing. Alex's pulse spiked, and he dropped the camera. His flashlight flickered, then went out entirely, leaving him swallowed by darkness. The cold seemed to grow even sharper, more vicious. He swallowed hard and felt for his phone to use its light, but his hands trembled. So badly he dropped it, and it clattered somewhere in the room. He fumbled blindly for the flashlight again, smashing into a chair, stumbling over rugs. Panic knotted in his gut. The silence was suddenly filled with something you could almost hear the walls breathing. He thought he felt something brush past him, slow and deliberate, like cold fabric sliding against his skin. Alex spun around. His breath came out in rapid little bursts. "Who's here?" He choked, more softly than he meant to. The house responded with its own haunted voice, a long, low groan, like timber stretching, or bones shifting. His flashlight flickered back on for a moment, and when it did, he saw her again, the woman. She was standing right next to him now, her face twisted in a way he couldn't fully make out. Her head tilted, her eyes dark hollows, her body half blended into the shadows of the room. She didn't move, but just her presence was enough. He knew she was real. Alex snapped another photo, even though every instinct told him not to. The flash went off. When he looked back, she was gone. Nothing but empty air and stale dust. His breathing was ragged. He backed away slowly, hand against a wall, searching for a way out. His flashlight revealed peeling wallpaper, water stains forming weird, almost organic shapes, bruises on the walls. He felt small in this place, like he'd been swallowed. He made his way back to the hallway, each step careful, his senses screaming that something was just behind him. The air around him vibrated like the house was alive and breathing. He realized how foolish he'd been. Photography wasn't enough. He didn't just want pictures. He was trapped in a moment that might become his worst nightmare. At the end of the hallway, he stopped. He raised his camera again, aimed for the shadows. He heard that scraping sound again, slow, deliberate, approaching. His finger trembled on the shutter. He exhaled and pressed it. The flash lit up the corridor. Everything went white for a moment. When his vision returned, he saw the woman right in front of him, as clear and solid as a photograph should allow. Her body leaned forward. Her expression was flat, as if she were neither alive nor dead. Her mouth parted just a fraction too slowly, as though forming words no one could hear. Alex swallowed, took a step back, then tripped. The floorboard gave way under his weight, and he went down hard, the camera slipping in his hand. He lay there for a moment, stunned, staring up at the ceiling. The darkness above seemed close, too close, like it was pressing down on him. He forced himself to breath. He picked up the camera, holding it like a shield. The room was quiet again, oppressively so, as though the house were waiting for him to make the next move. He stood slowly, knees shaking, and made his way back toward the door he came in. Every step echoed. Just as his hand touched the doorknob, he felt it, a coldness at his shoulder, like someone's icy fingers brushing along his skin. He froze, hand on the knob. His flashlight beam trembled upward, and there she was, standing in the doorway behind him, so near he could feel the chill emanating from her form. Her head tilted, and she stared at him with empty pits for eyes. He raised the camera reflexively. It felt heavier than ever before. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Why are you here?" he croaked. No answer came. Instead, the air seemed to ripple. He hit the shutter. The flash lit the room. For a split second, her figure was crystal clear in his viewfinder. Long limbs, motionless posture. Then the light faded, and when his eyes opened, she was gone again into the shadow. He twisted around, breathing hard, ready to run. But before he could move, the door slammed shut behind him. He jumped at the impact, heart in his throat. His flashlight flickered once more, then steadied. He tried the doorknob, locked. In his panic, he racked his brain. Maybe a window. He took hesitant steps across the room, past rotting furniture, toward a window that looked out into black forest. But when he pressed his hands against the frame, it refused to budge. Cold wood, swollen with moisture and age, held firm. Shaking, Alex put his back to the wall. He closed his eyes and tried to calm himself. He whispered to his own reflection in the camera's screen. "It's just a house. A rundown house. I can leave in the morning." But he couldn't stop the tremor that was racking his body. Alex stood pressed against the wall, waiting for his pulse to slow. But the house pulsed with him. Every exhale, every tremor in his body echoed back at him through the wooden bones of the place. The stale air felt tighter now, like the entire house was shrinking around him. His flashlight flickered in his trembling hand, sweeping across the warped wallpaper and long dead family photos that lined the corridor. Their glass was cracked, their subjects faded, but something about the way their eyes seemed to follow him made Alex's stomach twist. He took a step forward, determined to get back to the front door. The floor creaked beneath him, each groan louder than the last, as if the house were warning him. He kept the camera close to his chest, his breathing quick but quiet. The air had grown so cold that his fingertips had gone numb. He wiped them against his coat, trying to keep circulation, trying to keep himself grounded in something physical, anything real. As he neared the hallway, a sudden noise made him stop dead. A soft tapping sound. He whipped around, aiming the flashlight at the wall behind him. The tapping was steady, measured, like nails gently drumming on wood. Then it moved, shifting from one section of the wall to the next, a deliberate pattern crawling toward him. His breath caught in his throat. He snapped a picture without thinking. The flash burst through the darkness, and just in that split second of clarity, he saw something pressing outward from inside the wall, as if a face were forming beneath the layers of old plaster. A hollow shape, gaping mouth open wide. When the flash faded, it was gone. Only silence remained. Alex stumbled back, forcing himself to turn away from the wall. The scraping sound from earlier returned, now louder, faster, like something was running along the ceiling beams above him. He swallowed hard, his throat tight, and began moving again, desperate to reach the front of the house. But as he entered the living room, he froze. The woman was there. She stood in the middle of the room, her back to him, her hair hanging down in wet, tangled strands. Her dress was a color he couldn't place, something between shadow and ash. Her arms hung unnaturally straight at her sides. She did not sway. She did not move. The very air around her seemed to compress, warping the room ever so slightly. Alex didn't dare breathe. He raised the camera slowly, sweat forming cold across his back, and took another picture. The flash illuminated her face as she turned toward him, and in that split instant, he saw her features. Sunken eyes with hollow sockets, skin stretched too tightly across her bones, a mouth that didn't seem carved for speech, but for screaming. The flash died. She vanished. The room plunged into darkness again, and the house moaned, a drawn-out groan that vibrated through the floor and into Alex's bones. He stepped backward, hitting the corner of a dusty couch. He steadied himself and spun, scanning the room. That's when something whispered it wasn't a word. It was a sound, a broken inhale, like someone struggling to breathe just inches behind him. He turned slowly, dread cracking open inside him. The woman was crawling out of the darkness beside the couch, her limbs bending wrong, dragging herself like a predator stalking prey. Her movements were jagged, unnatural, as if she were being yanked forward by invisible strings. Her fingers clawed into the wooden floor, leaving long, gouged grooves where her nails scraped. Alex staggered back, fumbling for the doorway, but the floorboards beneath him shifted. He felt them ripple, not creak, not bend, ripple, as if something huge were moving underneath. He bolted for the hallway. His flashlight swung wildly. He didn't look back. He could in single quotes T. as he reached the stairs. A sudden force slammed the front doors shut again, the echo reverberating like an explosion. He grabbed the door knob and twisted hard. It didn't budge. He pulled harder, rattling it, bracing his shoulder against the wood, but it felt fused to the frame. He hit it with his fist, panic rising like bile. The house sighed, a deep, resonant sound from its foundation, and then a faint, cold breath brushed the back of his neck. Not yet, a voice whispered. It was impossible to tell if it came from behind him or from inside his head. He spun around, flashlight raised like a weapon. Nothing. The hallway stretched ahead, darker than before, oppressive and pressing inward. He turned to the stairs. Maybe he could find another way out upstairs. A window, any window. He climbed, each step creaking under his weight. The air grew colder the higher he went, until it felt like he was inhaling ice. Halfway up, a low thud came from above, something moving overhead, something pacing, something waiting. Alex reached the top step, and the temperature dropped even further. His breath fogged in front of him. He moved into the nearest room, flashlight trembling in his grip. Inside was an old bedroom with shredded wallpaper and a collapsed bed frame. Dust swirled around him. He scanned the corners, nothing. He walked slowly toward the window, determination giving him a temporary strength. He grabbed the frame and tried pulling it up. It didn't move. He tried again, harder. The wood cracked slightly, but refused to open. Something tightened in the pit of his stomach. He backed away, chest heaving. Then he heard steps behind him. Slow steps, soft, deliberate. He turned around, and the woman was in the doorway, blocking his exit. Her neck twitched to the side, as though studying him. Her jaw unhinged slightly, opening to wide. A wet sound gurgled from her throat, like water filling lungs. Alex lifted his camera instinctively and fired it. The flash erupted, the room glowing for a heartbeat. And in that fleeting light, he saw not one figure, but several, shapes lining the walls, bodies standing in corners, faceless, motionless silhouettes, watching him, waiting. When the flash faded, the room went completely black, and in that darkness, dozens of breaths exhaled at once, surrounding him. Alex screamed. He lunged forward, pushing past the silhouette in the doorway, or where he thought it was. Something icy scraped across his arm, tearing fabric as he ran into the hallway. He flew down the stairs, almost losing his footing, the house shaking violently around him. He reached the living room. But now the entire space had changed. Furniture was overturned, walls pulsed with dark stains. The floor felt like it was shifting beneath him, as if the house were breathing faster, excited. Something moved behind him. Fast, Alex ran for the front door again, slamming into it with all his weight. It burst open this time, flinging him outward, hurling him into the snow. He landed hard, pain shooting up his side. The flashlight rolled from his hand into the frost. His breath rattled in his chest as he scrambled to his feet. Behind him, the house shuddered, lights flickering inside even though the wiring should have been dead. Alex stumbled backward, eyes locked on the front door. Then, in an instant, the house collapsed inward. It didn't fall. It folded, like something pulling the walls into itself, devouring its own structure. In less than 3 seconds, the house vanished completely, leaving only a patch of frost-covered earth. No debris, no foundation, nothing. Alex stood trembling, breath coming fast and short. And then he heard it, a whisper, close to his ear. "You belong here." The forest fell silent. Alex didn't look back. He couldn't. He just ran. And Winter Creek Road watched him go.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.